Are we about to see America dragged into another reckless war in the Middle East? Reports suggest the president is considering approving bunker buster strikes that can only be carried out by B-2 bombers with U.S. pilots on board. That kind of move would instantly place 40,000 American troops already stationed in the region directly in range of Iranian missiles. The risks aren't theoretical. One miscalculation could ignite a spiral of retaliation, pulling the United States into another grinding conflict while officials in Washington insist everything is under control. The question is, how much of the truth are they really telling us?
Thank you all very much for being here. News reports this morning suggest that the president is actively considering intervening in the situation in the Middle East. I understand that we have 40,000 troops deployed in the region, many of whom are in range of Iranian missiles. And it's being reported that the president is being asked to consider providing the bunker buster bomb that is required to be carried only by the B-2 bomber and would require a U.S. pilot. That raises real concerns about what retaliation might mean for the safety and stability of the entire region and our troops and Americans who are in the region. So can you tell us, Mr. Secretary, are you considering military action that would bring us into active hostilities, and whether you expect a decision to be made on that anytime in the next few days?
Just bearing in mind, and you can stop the clock, we will be going into a classified portion of the hearing later on. But proceed, Mr. Secretary.
I understand that, Mr. Chairman, but I think this is a question that's very important for the American public to hear.
I just wanted to make it clear that there would be an opportunity to get very deep into that. Go ahead.
Senator, I agree with the chairman. Most of what I can or should say would be reserved for a classified setting. I would say the president, obviously, any decisions on this matter are at the presidential level. He has communicated very clearly for quite some time.
I do understand that, Mr. Secretary, but my question for you is whether you have been asked actively to provide options for the president regarding a strike in the Middle East.
If I had or I had not, I wouldn't disclose that in this forum, Senator. My job, our job, Chairman and I, at all times, is to make sure the president has options and is informed of what those options might be and what the ramifications of those options might be.
I appreciate that.
You mentioned the troops in the region.
I
maximum force protection at all times is being maintained.
I would hope that as soon as consideration about action is determined, that the public will be informed about that. 6 of us on this committee just returned from the largest air show in the world. It was very impressive to see the innovation and technology from our industry on aerospace. And one of the concerns that I heard from many of the companies that I talked to was about the potential to partner with our allies and partners for innovation, for co-production. And one concern I heard was about the proposed review of the AUKUS agreement. That's after the Australian government has already contributed $500 million to our submarine industrial base, and American and UK shipbuilders have made capital investments to support the increased demand. So do you disagree with the position that President Trump has taken about AUKUS, that we should move forward? And what is the review expected to produce?
Well, Senator, I think reviews are always prudent, but those reviews actually come after conversations I've had with the Minister of Defense, Healy, in the UK, and Marles in Australia. Long personal conversations about the status of this arrangement, both aspects of it. So we are reviewing it because that's what the Defense Department ought to do, to make sure it fits the priorities of the president, and that our defense and shipbuilding industrial base can support, ensure that we're clear on all sides of that, on either pillar. And then on pillar 2, identifying specifically the ways we can work together most meaningfully to co-produce with our industrial base munitions or other capabilities that would be most applicable to the threats we face.
But do you agree that it's important to increase the capability of our nuclear deterrent in the Indo-Pacific, and that AUKUS is one way to do that?
I do, and working through
Thank you.
AUKUS as a possible avenue for that is a good thing.
Last week, Mr. Secretary, during the SAC-D appropriations hearing, you reaffirmed the need for an exemption for the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard to your hiring freeze. Senator Collins asked you a very relevant question on that, and since Senator King and I share that shipyard, I'd like to ask you again, because we have not yet heard anything from you or from the Office of Personnel Management about how they're responding to this. DOD has told us that the Office of Personnel Management needs to review every single new hire one by one at a time when we need 550 people every year just to keep up with the Navy's demand for maintenance and on its nuclear submarines. So will you commit to talking to OPM on this issue? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Senator.
When Senator Jeanne Shaheen pressed Secretary Hegseth during the recent hearing, the exchange cut through the usual Pentagon talking points. She asked him directly if the administration was considering military action that would pull us into active hostilities, and whether he had already been asked to provide strike options for the president. Instead of a straight answer, Hegseth hid behind the shield of classified briefings, repeating that decisions of this scale rest only with the president. To the American people, that doesn't sound like reassurance. It sounds like confirmation that the options are very much on the table, even if they won't admit it openly. Shaheen made it clear she wasn't just probing for political points. She was demanding transparency for the families of those 40,000 troops whose lives could change overnight if bombs start falling. The refusal to give a direct answer is telling. When leaders truly want to avoid war, they usually say so loudly and without hesitation. When they dodge, it raises suspicion that planning is already underway. And the irony isn't lost on anyone. While the administration entertains the possibility of launching strikes abroad, there's a crisis of readiness happening right here at home. Shaheen pointed out the hypocrisy. Washington beats its chest about projecting strength overseas, yet a hiring freeze is crippling the Port South Naval Shipyard, one of the most important facilities for maintaining nuclear submarines. That freeze means every single new hire must crawl through a one-by-one review process with the Office of Personnel Management. The Navy needs over 500 workers each year just to keep up with submarine maintenance demands. But instead, repairs fall behind and workers are stretched thin. How can Washington talk about national security with a straight face when our shipyards are left understaffed and under pressure? Shaheen demanded Hegseth commit to pushing OPM to lift the freeze, but his hesitation suggested no real urgency. The contradiction couldn't be sharper. Spend billions preparing for war abroad while penny-pinching decisions at home weaken the very foundation of readiness. And that wasn't the only contradiction exposed in this hearing. The discussion soon turned to the AUKUS agreement, a landmark pact between the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia designed to counter China's growing influence in the Indo-Pacific. Australia has already put $500 million on the table, and U.S. and British shipbuilders have invested heavily to meet the expected demand. Yet, in the middle of all this, the administration has launched a review of the agreement. On paper, a review sounds harmless, just a prudent check-in. But in practice, it sends a dangerous signal of hesitation to allies who are already committed. Industry leaders are sounding alarms, warning that if Washington starts playing political games with AUKUS, it could tank investment and strain relationships at a time when unity is crucial. Once again, Shaheen pressed Hegseth, asking if this review is really about making sure the pact works, or if it's about bending the agreement to align with Trump's America First priorities. Because let's be real, there's a lot of money on the line, and defense contractors know it. Billions of dollars in contracts could shift depending on how this review is spun. Critics argue this isn't about strengthening nuclear deterrence in the Indo-Pacific, as much as it is about funneling more cash to lobbyists and donors while pretending it's all about security. That's the classic Washington two-step cloak: economic and political interests in the language of patriotism and defense. And while leaders insist reviews are necessary, every delay risks undermining the very alliances that keep China in check. If this agreement stalls or fractures, it won't be Beijing that suffers, it will be the credibility of the United States. Shaheen's line of questioning revealed how fragile the administration's balancing act really is. On one hand, they want to project toughness against Iran and China. On the other hand, they can't seem to maintain basic readiness at home, or keep faith with allies abroad. Each time she pressed Hegseth for a clear commitment, whether on lifting the shipyard hiring freeze or sticking firmly to AUKUS, he dodged and deflected. The American people were left with more questions than answers. Are leaders being upfront about the risks of new military action? Are they prepared to protect the troops already in harm's way? Or are they more focused on political optics and defense contractor profits than on actual security? These contradictions matter because they paint a picture of priorities that don't line up. Talk tough on Iran, but dodge accountability when pressed. Promise alliances abroad, but review agreements that allies already invested billions in. Claim to care about readiness but allow a hiring freeze to choke critical shipyards. It all adds up to a strategy that seems more reactive than responsible, and it's no wonder people are asking whether Washington is really prepared for the challenges it talks about so loudly. At the end of the day, Shaheen showed the kind of accountability that should be routine but too often isn't. She demanded answers about war plans, about the safety of troops, about the future of critical alliances, and about the readiness of shipyards that keep our Navy afloat. And while Hegseth refused to commit, the hearing peeled back the curtain on just how shaky the administration's narrative really is. The bigger picture is sobering. If leaders can't be transparent about decisions that risk American lives, how can they be trusted with the enormous power of military? If they allow political games to jeopardize alliances, how secure is the Indo-Pacific really? And if they ignore urgent staffing needs at home, what does national security even mean? The contradictions are clear, but so is the takeaway. Without honesty and accountability, America risks stumbling into another costly conflict while its foundation grows weaker. So what do you think? Are these hearings exposing the truth, or just confirming that Washington will never come clean until it's too late? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want to keep following these explosive stories, make sure to like this video, subscribe and hit that notification bell. The next one dives even deeper into the controversies they don't want you to hear.